So like but leave my worry and my then sitting on this that Taro to send that either to send that kind of that Taro might have not escape from lack of therapeutic state and like Taro might be with the person might be afraid there's something for like sitting around like then other person the failure something for like trying to like find Vagan might be like the actual facing is the need by the Miriam. So luckily that without miscreating at all, like I'm looking like for like the Emperor Hero and Berganma to that running to Taro, which like the now it's under the opening. And from there, like I'm looking like Taro journey that's being together along with like Emperor Hero and Berganma is like very now that I'm looking at that is good. So that but leave my looking very important right now is that like the Phoenix man most of my doubt that we survive but that at present might use pretending as it would happen in front of that December of hero with like the clear secret intention which might exist within that the Phoenix man which might be to that stealthy after like freaking that the Emperor hero for that Phoenix man to that stealthy follow that the Emperor hero and wait and basically wait for like a perfect opportunity so that make and I'm move against that temper of your own then the baseman prevent against that temper of your own and the different temper of your own down that a bit brain that along such like temper bring for that baseman most of that material and just like thing is not a challenge of the thing but like I'm so different from this point on so little that rather than not that revelation like I'm so different the Emperor of Europe point on to be on high alert so that like I'm just trying like the next time I'm sort of trying for like a scenario where I'm sitting with my friend in for like feeling man like stealthy making an ambush move once again against like the Emperor of Europe but like at that point like so really that then the being on high alert like that element of like Phoenix man as well and that's the feeling it's like the even the scenario that I was also making a but so that definitely my very impressive right now is that like if the guy who played like put on the document played the role of that surrounding bird might have been extremely insecure. Might have thoroughly dislike role in like the comedy show like surrounding bird. But like might have been totally doing it for like survival and like he might have been extremely insecure about like anyone finding out about like the actual identity as like the person who plays the role of the surrounding bird. You might have had that absolute fear, might have been investigated the female and eventually I'm delivering one of it like one of the person who might have believed to be his left friend to whom like he might have totally went out while then that absolute nostalgic front to that not tell it to that anybody else that he might have went out one day. Which is that especially playing lecture all on picture of and bird like he might have one day went around and reveals to this that to whom that was that they use something to do was like his best friend bad like about like him actually being like the long and bird suddenly my very eminence. So at that point I'm not different what might have happened might have been that front that friend might have simply comforted him and might have realistically like leaked that crucial information to like about like the identity of that Lankan bird to like the public might have been what might have happened if that news was put in. So like that way like I'm so different that the human identity of like the rocket bird like might have been found out by the public and like might have been made fun of by the public might have been what might have happened if the news might was very interested and that might have been also embarrassing and just felt too all and too much for like the person who played like the human who played like the or like the rocket bird might have been what might have been what might have happened and might have been a great he might have been so distinctive from pain and memories and the point in himself might have been what might have happened and he might have quit that the show uh, anime and that might have been what might have happened and he might have ran away or when that might have been what might have happened. Usually like in seeing on into like face like embarrassment. Limon might have been what might have happened to me like into game. That way that might have been how that might have been doing that point while running away that like he might have with that like to hide in like the abandoned like the sort of like city we might have like the symbols might have been what might have happened. And might have been at that point like the monster might have found it or like maybe like the eyeball monster might have Euro monster might have found it, and at that point, that the Euro monster might have found that might have been a selection that they raised with different and courage and frustration with different. and that is to that help them to have to like get revenge on everyone who made fun of him. That all that like in that video or that might have been from within that human, and like that might have been what made up of like video or the interruption in that human, and might have given the hero that might have at that point that given him that the small well, and by telling him that like the monster well is like the key, and by turning into a monster, like he would be able to like instrument on like the people who made fun of him might have been what might happen with human things. And that so like that way that by consuming the films of well that humans like might have been filled with like the thoughts of like the song and bird that like and putting after consuming like the like he might have while turning into a monster he might have turned into that actual song and bird might have been what might have happened with the night was very so that at that point that I'm delivering that might have been extreme shock literally for uh, that human to suffer like turning into a monster might have been what might have been like the case definitely not for everything. But like at that point that Europe might have given like the motivate to that the point of monster in like the longest form that and might have told them that is from now on is not going to be called strong and bird that from now on that is going to be that is going to be the Phoenixman to be another name that the other one might have told that that one of that might be totally straight to that have transformed into like a strong and bird like monster to telegraph this that prevent in that exact role that exact form as black. So the by the new name Phoenixman might be like along the lines like the earlier one might have told to the Phoenix Man at that point might have been what might have happened to me and that way like the Phoenix Man might have walked into like the appointment and might have fought like tracked down that best point of that Phoenix Man who had lacked the information of the like identity might have been what might have happened and like that might have been like the person might have been like the first person that Prince Man might have solved wrong. Might have been what might have happened and what is the event or might have been what might have happened in like the after the leak might have been something like this. It's like the lead of the Hungarian right now is for like that's sort of the Prince Man to be going on for like the Prince Man's like previous form and so the many for like the Emperor Heroes that has looked everything into that remake, but still until the point that the sort of feeling meant to be strong, this stronger and that to see it like the Emperor Heroes selected into scenario set up of the correct. So like before putting down like the Emperor Hero, like at that point like the Phoenix Man like starting to like get that as represent on like the Emperor Hero by first putting down wagon in front of like the Emperor Hero in like the Emperor Hero has like putting on that control that trouble and for that effort solely to protect like wagon like protecting the saving wagon like the priority of like the hero not to get to set all that hope that to be along the line compared thing in front of like and the Emperor Hero to be along the line compared to the thing for like the Phoenix match to take the and that way like I'm bring up like things to be about to bring down wagon match that will love the kind of thing for like wagon match to like shout out to like Phoenix man to not trusting don't get good. To be around the nice number with my attacker in this year, rather than not that then after can be shouting out to next feeling in when it's not that about first. Like at that point I'm looking for like change man to be on that have to stop and stopping on the track solely by that the mention of like the word song and words like now it's that about the thing. So at that point like but I'm not repeating like the word don't get word over and over again while at that point, I'm potentially save the black and that dragon master of the dying and shout out to that place that lack in like that 9 million so that Duncan Bird was like dragon that failed cat and that target for the black so and they will together with the ransom of different dragon to be lying to that since not hoping that way like man with spam dragon so like that Peter mentioned like the word that Duncan Bird like resulting in that all black hole of fixed memories of that prolonged word of all that memory black which like man would respond to like a dog remember at all. Then the man would have video that he has moved on from like all that memory black only memories like a gen like to the Phoenixman, like another that I'm looking to. Like at that point, I'm preparing that Phoenixman to small foot control and get into them and usually turning that instantly that borderline changing and like turning extremely in favor and like an out of control like Phoenixman straight away would be about to bring down that dragon at that point of scenario that I'm looking for. But like I'm putting by then that for like that situation like giving more time for like the robot from like the Emperor Hero to like, get that speed. It's like now it's the Emperor different that way that the robot of the Emperor stopping that man and saving the environment that means like the scenario is another thing. And from that point on for the for the second half was like the magic in there. At that point I'm looking for that I feel to that the repeated mention of like the rocket door like a sort of thing for like things not to have lost all of its level concentration and focus in like the battle that and looking that the thing can to be battling while confused with that absolutely and in and out of focus manner like not exactly at that point for like them they were taking advantage of that for sounding good and they will be repeatedly mentioning that in the sounding and over again like talking about like the character song that silly man like making fun of like the character of like talking about that is like not and that is causing like it's like getting even more into when actually like focus on one person or about it more and that I'm so using that as like a fighting power to bring the end of year of the ending up or the end defeating that some of the questions that is like the scenario and the also the so like the labor but the way I right now that like the limitation of like the and my team filling up so it's like the current limitation of like after that the random item advice of like upgrade of that might be like it's the where I think that can only use that absolute power only for like a very short time testing. So yes, I'm only looking for like the substituting it like the beating laptops of the film when using like the and robots, but then still I'm noticing eventually like the future I'm noticing for like a rebalance happening between that the Rage and Emperor Hero again that mission will be by reflect in the like scenarios that I'm looking at. In that pattern, I'm looking for like the number of hero, which is like ultimate for and robot using it like have to everything against like the machine got given, but like machine got given fighting to more forward and basically normally crushing at this point that the that Rage and robot that is not the number of thing. Yet like I'm looking for still in my preparation for like yet for like temper hero as well as Varganma as well as Sarah, who I'm talking about like Varama and like then eventually will be ending up running into like was now the new system. Yet like the three of them managed to like survive only due to that the interference of like so by then I'm looking for to me making it so that expect of getting an so different form at that point to be like that they form like maybe like the final showdown battle of like happening with I'm totally to be again that with the black rate upgrade that batting that slow down batting against that machine got do by if like the English like like struggling to play into that be able to bring that that has like struggled way more than he usually do the soul so really to that the item art by like recent upgrade of it's like now that I'm being on the end like I'm suffering that very same weakness of like the recent upgrade of like like until like turning things around and that so the strong point of that upgrade like even with that limitation like usually ending up in that battle that makes the rest of it and that through such a manner like I mean eventually the recent upgrade is really ending up like prone to be absolutely useful and prone to be like a sort factor that eventually allow even though through the critics will still allow to be able to that thing down and defeat like it would be like in the end it's like the scenario side of it and of the end and that point I'm going to bring for like after like the bottom and after all that will be all like I'm trying like placing like the mask like for like so like the please the reinforcement right now for like them like price and robot like regardless of that whatever power which will be using that and so different still not being able to like capture that the Phoenix Man still managing that to get through or I can still like capture and recover Phoenix Man like with now that I'm looking into now that I'm right now looking so like at that point I thought something I'd like to find an ultimate from that kind of like a strategy that can go to break on the game for like the Emperor Hero to like end up freaking FphoenixMan with like Monster Emperor Hero undoing his like a robotic form, BraveGiant robotic form. Before that, right before like the time limit would be over, like in different for like the Emperor Hero that undoing his like robotic form and putting on that as the brave and in front of like the FphoenixMan as if like the like time limit is up for like the BraveGiant and like he can't use like the BraveGiant anymore. So like that way like I'm just like for usually that the hero freaking that Kingsman and like Kingsman and that point feeling off until that thing that they need without like that of hero being able to land. Assuming that like a hero actually is like saying the truth and like and that way without seeing it like use like the brave giant robot like the Emperor heroes like heads up and whatever this to be around the line like the Kingsman getting all confident and that and at that point of the Kingsman will be able to bring down starting towards like the Emperor hero and the heroes bring down like the that way the second like Emperor from the end of the once again pulling out and pulling back that separation from and that capture Phoenix Man is way away bring down Phoenix Man is like the scenario that I'm like I'm right now. Yes, so that's what we know right now for like the bad against Phoenix Man. Consider setting in that the Emperor Hero and Wagon on going there up underground literally leading to like them ending up at like the very sort of like the monster of a made to like the layer of like monster in Karachi. This like the scenario that I'm looking again. Them getting captured by monster in Karachi and like no different from monster in Karachi at that point things like about to bring down first sex but then as well as like the Emperor Heroes like the scenario that I'm looking and at that point, I'm so different from like for some consideration, I'm so different from like the theory or most of like interfering and feeling that the or to like not touching or feel to like stop and basically instead of like straight away bring them down like and bring that at that point what they did to like figure out want to like or along that want to be or see that was like engaging that bug and extend or get to the right beside like the right beside like one thing or like this scenario that I'm developing. And that way, like I'm slowly praying that for like them Rockero as well as that Wagana being it that as good transgender litigation that in our channel. Definitely I'm praying maybe for like Sarah while the prayer is for like Wagana losing his way and basically eventually Sarah ending up showing up to that making it accidentally making it to like the black bottom same like location of like the layer of like multiple university, like say Narik and those like yeah, like I'm different Taro lab initially getting yeah being like most of thing origin. Then yet like most technology, for Taro, yet like I'm different like Taro that shown that absolute bravery and basically that and self business and basically Taro still lacks that the managing to like make it towards like the Emperor Hero as well as well as Badana would be represented and like I'm defining like Emperor Hero like giving signal to and certainly communicating with like Taro on how to like prevent it to Taro like that way selflessly ending up with that absolute bravery appearing in that dream like the Emperor Hero as well as like Badana and like then that way into the language of like the layer of like technology is like basic scenario that I could go this thing and right. So like the being my theory of that thing right now that like now Phoenix Man like actual weakness might be what might be like accessibility the Phoenix pyramid. So that we are referring that the parent in that the one for like your business usually ending up with like one of like the move for like temper of heroes eventually like pushing that Kingsman to like the point of like eventually Kingsman ending up landing at like the water and like the water politics like the scenario that I'm projecting and like that way that Kingsman making contact with like the water like this now like, like at that point it's like Kingsman ending up like struggling with like this scenario that I'm projecting and that way like the member like realizing that what is next to being like the scenario that I made with something I'm able to reimagine and that is how I'm going to taking advantage of that weakness of that what might be like weakness of that things that is how I'm going to find the Emperor of Europe would be bring down and defeating that things that is like now that I'm going to bring and very right. So like the tools are the very important right now is for like until like when 9 minutes of like the brain giant would be for like all the sales values and that like the materials using that of each and every one of them trading against like Phoenix manufacturing is not that right now from so definitely to report private trading and definitely the Emperor Hero feeling that he has that probably failed this time and this came off so like at that point after lifting for like the Phoenix man to that to be about to like bring down the Emperor Hero but like totally due to like Phoenix man having made contact with like what right now I'm totally putting that the effects of that I'm totally putting finally kicking in and like the writers and being man is able to bring down that material and that will love it. Only at that will love it is like not that I'm totally and like the being man starting to struggle and also the man everything that like what might be the absolute weakness of like the things man on the might be like the case the clean of them so definitely I'm trying at that will love it and that things man that goes through that absolute suffering uh, they feel like the bits of them making contact with like only at that point affecting the scenario that I put them into like and I'm totally putting at that point right in front of like the defeated Emperor Hero like I'm bring that even without like the Emperor Hero being able to like do anything back that like again like the Phoenix Man that's like totally different like making contact with that water I don't like the Phoenix Man by himself ending up being caught down by his own weakness which might be one of like the scenario that I'm going to fix the right we're seeing that being on the Kindle and section right now, so like the end of year as well as that one and try to mark to like not end up running into the right now. It's like the now that I'm so like like the end of the year also rather than not ending up in such a situation while the different actors like they will be almost near like the exit like in the different that them getting found by large mission 35 but like them getting found and here once again by changing was by the player which was selected with Texas Narsen and the Penguins. So the thing in black and black wagon election plus or being forced to like to see into like some of the associated case in order to like escape from that mission 45 like changing scenario that from and I'm going to like maybe for to the only at that point that I'm going to them to be running into Saro would be even at that point really looking for the last one and like finish economic that I'm broken like but like at that point like I'm so looking for like the Emperor of King Indian race at like Bagan